Welcome, everyone. This is a impromptu chatting 2A with Mr. Chris Cheng. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. So, I know you did the Go Big show that aired last night. That was an amazing zoot suit you were wearing.
Thanks. Yeah, the Go Big show. It is this new extreme talent show that's trying to go up against America's Got Talent, but there's no singing and there's no dancing. It's all extreme acts. So for me, I'm clearly shooting guns and shooting guns in a way that hasn't really been done before, which is the really exciting part for me. And so for my last night's performance, I won't give any spoilers. But it's a storytelling, narrative driven act where I'm dressed up in a zoot suit, and the guns and the overall story of my act is of the Prohibition era, and I want to make my act fun and educational and interesting, both through the weapons, the targets, and my own personal story and overlay. I didn't have a perfect performance last night, but I'm definitely happy with how it came out. And um, the Go Big show, it airs on TBS on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and yeah, it's in its first season, and so far the ratings have been very strong. Clearly, we're hoping for subsequent seasons and kind of build this new brand. Some of the guest judges are some very notable characters. The most notable is Snoop Dogg, who's not only a judge, but he's an executive producer for the show. And then Rosario Dawson, who's a very famous, well-known actor. Then Jennifer Nettles, who's a Grammy Award-nominated musician. And then Cody Rhodes, also known as, I think, the American Nightmare in the wrestling world. So those four are the guest judges. And then Bert Kreischer, who's also known as The Machine. He's a comedian and a really, really funny host. So it's a really strong lineup of not just the host and the judges, but also just the talent. And all the talent, it's just like apples and oranges and like lemons and bananas. Like it's just like everyone's acts are unique and different, which makes it really interesting to judge our acts and ultimately see who's going to come out on top.
Yeah. So, I have a couple questions for you based on last night's show. One, let's start off with what ear pro were you wearing?
That's a good first question. So I use ESP America, and I've been using ESP America, gosh, for 9 years now. And it's just amazing ear pro. It's custom molded to my ear, and it has electronic protection and volume control. So when there's gunshots or other loud noises, it'll take the decibels down to an acceptable level. They're super comfortable. I can literally spend an entire day with ESP America Ear Pro in my ears. And for anybody that's either a hunter, a competition shooter, or an instructor who's spending hours out in the field or on the range, or if you're a competitor or just practicing, right? If you're just just out shooting, you can definitely use ESP Americas for hours on end and be comfortable. And for me, a good piece of gear almost kind of disappears when you're using it, right? So when I have my ESP Americas in, like sometimes I almost forget that I have ear protection in because I can hear people talking clearly when I'm shooting guns. It's just the noise levels are at a comfortable level. So yeah, I love ESP America. They're a really great brand.
And for people that might be looking to get some of those, do they have a website or are they sold on Amazon? Do you know?
Yeah, they are on ESP America's website. I think you have to order it directly through them, and then basically you go to an audiologist, and they shoot a bunch of foam in your ear to create that mold, and then that molding gets sent off to ESP America, and then within a few weeks you get a custom personalized set of ear pro that's literally made for you.
That is pretty interesting. So I know I watched the show last night, and one of my questions is, do you think that you should have been up against the redneck archer, like as a pairing?
Yeah, so the redneck archer, James Jean, he is so impressive. And I hadn't, I didn't even know who he was until we were on the show together. And he is an archer who does some amazing trick shots. I won't give away too much of his act, last night, but he was able to basically shoot at a target with a barricade in front of him. So his arrows were basically going around these barricades, and like the arrow was bending. It was insane. So great to watch. So it would have definitely, I think, been interesting if he and I went head to head. But yeah, all the other pairings on the Go Big show, it's all very just different acts. Like last night, I went up against motorcycle, stunt kids. They're twins who do motorcycle stunts, and we have like strong men and strong women, and they're going up against monster truck racer and snake handler, and all these really fascinating pairings, which I think it makes for interesting TV.
Yeah, I'm not going to give too much away of what was the show last night, because it was pretty interesting. I mean, all the pairings were pretty good, but then when I watched the archer, I was like, that might have been a pretty good pairing to have you two against each other. So maybe in the semifinals.
Yep, we'll see what happens, and I could see for the semis, or for next season, maybe they bracket the competitors by their discipline. So kind of put all the marksmen, markswomen like together, all the strong men, all like the animal handlers, and then like the biker and the scooter. There's a wheelchair extreme jump guy who basically like goes off jumps and does flips in a wheelchair. Like that was like insane and so cool to watch. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens.
So New York Outcasts asks, what's a ballpark price on those ear?
Yeah. So ESP Americas, they're not cheap. I think entry level is $900, and mine are like the mid tier at like $2,100. And I know it's like there's a little bit of possible sticker shock there, but for me, I'm a musician in sort of a previous life, and also I'm still a volunteer musician currently, and so my hearing is really important to me. And additionally, having really good ear pro is obviously key for safety. And if if I'm on the range instructing students, I need to be able to hear what they're saying. And if there's any kind of unsafe behavior or discussion about unsafe behavior on the range, like I need to be able to hear that. And so with electronic ear pro like ESP Americas, like I can hear my surroundings, and I'm hyper aware, and I can hear everything with the ear pro in. So the value it's really worth it for me. And I know a lot of people want to be comfortable and want to be able to hear their surroundings while they're at the range or hunting, or shooting guns wherever they may be.
Yes. So how much time did you put in on practice for your performance last night?
Yeah, so we filmed. So the whole competition took place last August, and I didn't know I was cast on the show until maybe like June. Um, and even in June, my act wasn't like locked in, and I've never done this act, anywhere else, which is very different than a lot of my competitors, where this is what they do, like for a living, right? Like, there's this there's this one guy, his name is Canhead, and he has this really rare skin condition where his skin is sucking air in through his pores so fast that objects stick to his skin. And it's like, it sounds insane. So basically, he can take objects and like stick it to his arm, and the objects just will, he can take a whole liquor bottle, right? And he can put it onto his head, and he can tilt his head to pour the drink into a shot glass or whatever. And so yeah, it's just like crazy to see his act, but that's what he does for a living, right? He's been hired by soft drink companies, footwear apparel companies to do videos and commercials for their brands, and he travels the world just showing off his skill, and that's not what I do for this act. Like this, the acts that I'm doing on the Go Big show are bespoke and unique to the Go Big show. I'm not planning to travel the country to do this kind of act, although I hope someone is inspired to kind of bring back this art form of storytelling through firearms. It's a throwback to the days of Annie Oakley and other professional shooters, right, who would travel the country, often by stagecoach, plop themselves right in some town and literally do the act from their stagecoach, and shoot targets, right, have an engaging story and conversation with an audience. And I think there's something very romantic, very interesting, and personal about that kind of storytelling. So that's the inspiration that I took from, and like I said, I hope viewers like it, and I hope someone in the in the shooting community will kind of take that idea and run with it through other programming and other kind of performances.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. I would like to see like Top Shot brought back.
I would too. It's it's shows like Top Shot, and I hope like my performance on the Go Big show that puts a positive light on gun ownership that can really impact the hearts and minds of Americans and viewers all across the world, to show that, hey, guns aren't the problem, it's the people that are the problem. And there are responsible gun owners who can have fun shooting guns, and as long as we're staying safe, like there's just nothing wrong with owning an AR-15. There's nothing wrong with owning a machine gun if you're just shooting at legal fun targets. So yeah, I hope maybe one of these days Top Shot will have a reboot. Seems like rebooting shows is sort of in vogue these days. Yeah, I would love to see Top Shot come back, because clearly I'm biased. One of my favorite TV shows ever.
I watched every season of there, so loved Gabby on there, and some of the other contestants. They were all you guys. Just to be a contestant on there, it took a lot of different skills. I mean, archery, longbow. You had Gatling guns. Who gets to play around with Gatling guns?
Right?
All that. And yeah, the wife's yelling hatchets. So, Ozark says, if there was one handgun he had to grab within a few seconds to have for the rest of his life, which would it be?
That would have to be my Glock 34 modified by Salient Arms. And the Glock 34, it's my competition handgun. So I've put in, 50, 60,000 rounds at least, through my Glock 34. And Salient, they do such great gunsmithing work to not just make it, look pretty, but the modifications and optimizations that they do to Glocks and other handguns are just second to none. And then the thing that I like about the 34, I mean, so okay, when I hear the question, right, what's the one gun I could have for the rest of my life, or that I would only have for the rest of my life, I would want a firearm that can be as versatile as possible. And so I guess for me, like, even though the G34 is long slide, which for me, in my mind, it's like, okay, like I can reach out to long distances, like 100 yards if I really need to. But clearly, right, I mean, 9mm can obviously be, it is effective up close as well. And it's got, that good balance of stopping power, round count, right, capacity. And I'm a Glock guy. So yeah, Glock 34.
Yeah, I'm a Glock guy too. I got the G23. I just love how versatile they are. I mean, right off the 23 platform, I can run a 357 SIG with just swapping a barrel. I don't have to worry about changing mags or anything. So I can run the 357 SIG. I can run the 40 cal, and then I can grab a 9mm barrel and 9mm mags and slap it right in there and be just fine, So I can run multiple different calibers off that one single frame, So that's what I kind of like about the versatility of them and how, pretty easy they are to get used to.
Yeah, and easy to field strip, and there's the Glock platform has one of the fewest number of parts to it compared to other manufacturers. And for me, fewer parts equals simplicity, and simplicity usually equals efficiency and reliability. So I also like that about the Glock platform.
Yes. And it's just like kind of my opinion on AKAR. You got way less moving parts in your AK than you have in your AR. So you got less opportunity of having catastrophic malfunctions,
I'll bite on this one though. So I'm an AR guy, and as much as right. So as much as I'm now like deviating from my stated philosophy of like preferring firearms with like fewer moving parts, there is just something about like when I pick up an AK, it just doesn't feel good. Like, I'm not saying it feels bad, or just like there's just a different level of comfort where, I don't know, like I pick up an AR and it just, I don't know, everything just sort of makes sense to me, like intuitively. Like I don't need to like think about how it feels. And yeah, I don't know, with AKs, I just pick it up. It's almost like, this is like I don't know. It's almost like it's like a foreign. I'm like driving a foreign car that I've never like driven before, kind of thing. But or if you have different handguns, where it's like Glock versus SIG versus CZ, right? Just sometimes you pick up a handgun and just doesn't. Right? Sometimes it just doesn't feel good. Not to say that doesn't. I mean, right? Just because it doesn't feel good to me doesn't mean that it. Clearly, lots of people love AKs. But yeah, I'm in the AR camp for sure.
Yeah, I've got a lot of people trying to talk me into joining the AR camp, and they're like, "But you can get a 7.62 barrel, for your AR." I'm like, "No, you're bastardizing a weapon right there. You can't. No, it's just like AKs are not meant to be in 5.56. That's
right.
Just my opinion."
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I know you also do a lot of the 2A with the 2A rally and stuff like that, and got a couple questions on. I don't know if you guys have everything set in stone yet, but do we know roughly like the dates that it's going to be happening?
Yeah, so for the 2021 2A rally, we're planning to be back in Washington D.C., likely at the Capitol building, and we're looking at late September, like to mid October, sometime in that time frame. So yeah, we're encouraging everybody who is able to join us in Washington D.C., to come together and listen to a wide variety of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives on the Second Amendment, and really show this diversity of thought, diversity of experience. For me, being an Asian American gun owner and being a gay American gun owner, it is often very distinct than other ethnic backgrounds. Just like being a female, right, gun owner is very different, right, than us, right, being male gun owners. So what's been very, I think, impressive about the 2A rally in the first 2 years that we've held the rally is we have amazing speakers who have been in the fight for decades. And there's just this wealth of experience, passion, emotion, logic that we really lean into at the 2A rally. And so there's something really for everyone. As I think there's speakers who you will absolutely be able to relate to right away. And then there's going to be other speakers who are going to really surprise you in a good way and make you think, wow, like I never really, maybe you didn't really know what is it like to be a gay gun owner, and how an LGBT culture, that gun ownership is often not really encouraged. In fact, right, it's kind of frowned upon, especially in the liberal LGBT circles, right, where they just sort of drink all the liberal Kool-Aid, where you can't be a liberal and own a gun, God forbid. So there's a lot of this gay culture that I would say it adds negative pressure, right, on gun ownership. But over the past few years, in particular since the Pulse nightclub shooting back, I think it was 2016, that was a big turning point in our country, where that was one of our country's worst domestic terrorist incidents, with over 100 people murdered or injured. And the Pulse shooting, for those of you who don't remember, it was a nightclub shooting. It was a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida, and that was a huge turning point for a lot of gay Americans who initially thought that guns weren't for them, right? Their gay friends, right, talked poorly about guns, and there's no gun culture in the gay community, which is all just false. And especially after the Pulse shootings, you had gay people who know what it's like to be a target, who know what it's like to be a victim or to feel like you are a victim. But they had their eyes opened up to say, wow, this Pulse nightclub shooting, what a horrific event. But hey, I can own a gun to protect myself, to protect other people. And it's not really about, right, there was a lot of conversation at the time around, oh, well, if somebody were concealed carrying inside the Pulse nightclub, would they actually have, been able to take the shooter down? I mean, right, that's sort of, nor here nor there, right? Because who knows what would have happened. But the idea that gun ownership could be for gay people was one of the biggest insights and the biggest changes as a result of that mass shooting. And like I said, we've been seeing a huge increase in Pink Pistols involvement and engagement. Pink Pistols is one of the largest pro-LGBT, pro-Second Amendment organizations out there, and I'm on the board of directors for the Pink Pistols. And so back to the rally, right? So, I talk a lot about my own experiences, and hopefully educate people and really show that the Second Amendment and the gun community it really cuts across so many different dynamics and demographics in American society and American culture.
So, Bald and Curious, he's a guy out of New York who's also a competition shooter. He asks, he's like, "Holy crap, how did you get Top Shot on chat, G23?" I emailed him. It was simple. I just shot him an email. Chris is a great guy. He's, pretty easygoing, with he's very friendly. And so if you have a podcast, you might just email him, and you never know. You might be able to get him on your live stream also.
And G23, if I remember correctly, wasn't I on someone else's podcast and you had asked a question? Yeah, like how do you get in touch with me to be on your podcast? Am I remembering that right?
Yep, you were on Sandhill Shooters podcast. And so, yeah, that was when you guys were talking about the 2A rally for 2020. And so, yeah, I reached out and said, "Hey, I'm just a little guy, a little small channel, and I'd love to get you out on my podcast." And you were like, "Email me." It's pretty simple,
Yeah, I think for me, right, everybody starts off, kind of at ground zero, right? And we're all, building the blocks of either advocacy or right a podcast, whether it's a hobby, for a business. And I think as much as we can all help each other out, right, and support each other, and right, like I gotta do more than just talk. I gotta be able to walk the talk, right, and show what I mean when I say, hey, right, we need to bond together and support each other in this common cause of freedom, of liberty, of our Constitution and our country. So yeah, thank you again for asking and inviting me on your podcast.
Hey, you are more than welcome. So, Bald and Curious says, "I remember watching him win. Geek with the gun beat all the hot shots. Was awesome."
yeah, it's so it's fun. I have two of my friends who didn't see my season of Top Shot, and they want to watch my season with me. And so a few weeks ago we started watching, and we only got through episode 1, but it was really nostalgic for me to watch that first episode of season 4 of Top Shot, where I'm introduced, and I forgot that I was wearing a brown t-shirt that in white text said #shirt. And this was 2011, right? This is like 10 years ago, before hashtags were really mainstream. And at the time, I remember, I was very wearing that shirt was very purposeful, to like really lean into my like tech geek credentials, and sort of like, look, only tech geeks are really going to understand what like #shirt means on a shirt, and like that it's funny and ironic. So I got a good chuckle watching watching that episode 1 of my season a few months ago. It was pretty great.
So M. Gabriel says, "Thanks, Chris." So he just wanted to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks again for tuning in and listening.
So I know we got you for 30 minutes and we're at 29 minutes. So you want to do any closing plugs before we get out? And I got one more question before.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. So for anybody who is tuning in just now, so I was recently on a show called The Go Big Show. It's a brand new extreme talent show. I'm shooting guns, but everyone is doing other things. Like there's monster truck driving, there's extreme animal handling, stunt riding, cowboy tricks, and some other incredible performances. And so the Go Big Show airs on TBS on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you don't have cable, it's on TBS's website, free streaming. So that's actually how I've been watching it. So yeah, the Go Big Show hosts Snoop Dogg, Rosario Dawson, Jennifer Nettles, Cody Rhodes, and the host is Bert Kreischer, who's also known as the Machine. Really funny comedian. But yeah, come watch me shoot some guns, and hopefully cheer me on. I'm trying to win $100,000 on the Go Big Show, and catch my episode last night on TBS.
So thank you again, and I definitely hope we can get you back on another live stream, because I do know that there's a few people chomping at the bit to ask you some questions. And I guess my outro question would be, it's kind of a three-parter.
All right.
One, are you paying any attention to the California AWB case that's going on right now?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know that Wednesday was, the meeting about, what's it, the Herrera versus something? I'm trying to remember the name of the case.
Yeah, I think it's Herrera versus the Attorney General of California.
Anywho, yeah, it's a big case, right? That could, set a huge precedent, for hopefully the unconstitutionality of any kind of assault weapons ban. So it's a big one.
And then next is, if you could, with the swipe of a pen, erase one anti-2A law that's on the books right now, what would it be and why?
Huh. Yeah, that's a great question. I guess I hate the California DOJ handgun roster. I think that, for any listeners who aren't familiar, only pistols that are approved by the California Department of Justice can be sold in California. And for a manufacturer to get their firearms approved, it's this long, onerous, expensive process, and it just doesn't make any sense. The whole overlay is that the DOJ does all these tests on the pistols to quote unquote validate that they're safe, as if the DOJ knows better than the manufacturers themselves, right, how to make a firearm safe. And it results in so many pistols not being able, right, they're not legal for sale in California. Here's one stupid example, right, back to talking about Glocks. Glock Gen 3s are legal for sale in California, but last I checked, Gen 4, Gen 5, forget about it, because they're not on the approved list. And the approved list is every single make and model, right? So it's not just like Glock Gen 4. On the list of approved pistols, you'll see Gen 3, the G17 Gen 3, G19 Gen 3, and on and on and on. So it's literally every single model of a manufacturer's pistol has to be submitted and approved by the DOJ. And it's just such a headache, right, that I can't get certain pistols here in California because of the stupid California DOJ handgun roster. It's just absolutely ridiculous and ineffective.
Yes. I think I would have to go with 1934. I would erase the original 1934, because my train of thought is, if we did away with that first anti-bill, how many would have ever followed after that? Because they would see that, hey, there's no precedent. Without precedent, they don't feel empowered to try keep going further and further.
So you took an interesting spin on your question, where you chose a law back in the last century, and then assume that, oh right, yeah, it would have impacted future laws. I like that. That was good.
So again, thank you for spending the last 35 minutes with us, and I hope you will come back again.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Thanks again for having me. And everyone, don't forget to catch me on the Go Big Show on TBS Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, or you can see my episode that aired last night online at tbs.com or other streaming channels.
Okay. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.